Welcome everybody to North Tonawanda's update. It is January 27th, 2021, and we're getting up and running here for Facebook Live with our update from North Tonawanda City School. So with it being the end of January, which seems almost impossible that we're here already, we have a few things going on in the district that would normally be happening. First one is that it's the start of second semester for courses at the high school and anywhere secondary where they've had 20-week courses. So you'll be getting notification on pickup and drop off of old course material and new course material through the Schoology app. And anyone who has a need for that, please look at your system there in Schoology for information from your teacher in the building about when that will be. Most likely next Wednesday the 3rd or the 10th. We'll look for remote students only to come in and get the things that they need. There are a lot of things going on with the Department of Health. So in Niagara County, luckily, they have not been canceling a ton of appointments like we hear is happening in some of our surrounding counties. But they don't have as many vaccines as they're asking for. But they've been very smart in only making appointments available for the ones that they have and they know that they will have. So that is a process that takes a long time. They're doing that all day when they have those. So part of the conversation with them is talking about the quarantining and live cases as we go forward. And school districts will be working with them to come up with what that new protocol will be shortly. We know that luckily schools have not been a huge spreader of the COVID vaccine, but I think that's because of a number of things, right? We are socially distanced in our classrooms, we're wearing masks, we have the hand sanitizer, we're reinforcing washing your hands and taking precautions that way, as well as doing the disinfecting every night. So that helps us contain it, but we still get people who may be asymptomatic or were in close contact with someone that then ends up being positive, and we've been using this 48-hour look back for quarantining. So, and then going forward, who needs to quarantine because they could have been in close contact is really what we're looking at and how we can adjust that. So as that gets changed or adjusted over the next few days, we'll have an update for you next week on that and post it on the webpage if there are any changes. Your best bet is always to go to the Department of Health website or the CDC website to see what the latest and greatest is there. We did send out at the secondary level, middle school and high school, the demographics form to update. We are updating our Global Connect system, which sends the phone calls so that it can include texting and emails or one or the other or both or all three. So it's very important that it came with a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we are getting a number back, but the middle school isn't seeing as many being returned as we'd like or hope. So if you got those in the mail, please send them back. If you did not get one and you're a middle school or high school student, you can give the school a call. You can call the guidance department at the middle school. We're all 807, and then their exchange is 3700 extension 4 to ask for another form to be mailed out to you. So we hope to get that up and running so that in the future, if we have snow days or if we have COVID closings or any type of mass calling that we need to do, we can get all that up and running in our new system so that you can get texts or emails or phone calls. Let's see what else we have here. Pre-K. So pre-K and kindergarten registration has been up and live where you can make appointments to come in throughout the month of February. It is a link on our webpage, and we're going to hopefully post it here in the comments as well. Even if you do not have a kindergartner coming to school next year or a preschooler who will be 4 before December, we ask that you spread the word and let people who have little ones know that that process is beginning and taking place, because the way pre-K currently runs in New York State is there is not a spot for everybody, and we have to run a lottery. So the sooner that we get the registration month over and get everybody known that they can put and be part of the lottery, the sooner we can hold that lottery and let people know so they can make plans for September. So let's see what we have here. Any update on NT and high-risk sports now that the state lifted the ban? So the high-risk sports was already in the works before the ban was lifted this afternoon by the governor with the yellow and orange bans. So winter high-risk sports are meeting with the section and the divisions and the districts to get that up and running. They will start practice Monday, actually, February 1st. There are a few um, things that are out there as far as spectators. Wrestling poses a whole different can of worms compared to basketball, but the section is working it out so that all school districts will run it the same way. So we're not having one district say this and another district say that when we're competing together. So we want the students that they're competing against coming from rival school districts to be just as safe as ours are. So they're working that out. That being said, obviously practice has to be held before any competitions are held. So practices will begin this Monday, February 1st. Global calls going out tonight to let parents and students know that if they haven't registered and they want to register or try to get on a team and do a tryout, what they have to do that. It'll be listed on our webpage as well for any applications that you need for physicals or that type of stuff. So everything's different in COVID world. So it changes daily, it changes by the hour. We were talking about the high-risk sports yesterday at 2 o'clock on my Department of Health call, and literally from that 2 o'clock in the afternoon call till 8 o'clock this morning, the emails just didn't stop with what about this, what about that, can we do this, okay, we'll move forward this way. So there's a lot of things to consider and get done in a short amount of time, which seems to be a trait of our governor, that all of a sudden, it's like the 10th hour and then he gives us permission. So we did have a lot of things in our mind, but what we want to do is not one school district allows it and another school district doesn't, so that there's this conflict. So now we're just all putting our ideas together, and I think by this afternoon we should have that ready to roll. Any updates for seniors prom and graduation? So one good thing is that when we're not in a yellow, orange, or red zone, we don't have the real small restrictions for people. So in the yellow zone where we were, it said 25 people maximum for indoor and outdoor contest. We don't have that. But the general during COVID time is still you're not going to have more than 50, 75, 100, depending on the space of the building. It's usually like a 50% capacity. So that being said, there's ways to move forward if things stay this way or get better. And there are still some restrictions that, each senior can have 2 tickets to have someone come to a regular graduation. It really is about the kids and the parents. The problem that, we run into all across the state and the country is that, well, I have 4 parents, right, because they got divorced and they're remarried, and I have 3 kids and grandma's wants to come. So I don't know what it'll look like in June, but we're going to move ahead and do everything we can to have a normal graduation. Prom is a little trickier because those are smaller venues, and if we're going to have an indoor dinner and dance like we usually do, we're usually at capacity, right? So if we have a graduating class of 250, 225, and some of them bring outside dates, it's not uncommon to be way over 300. So those groups, we're working on it. The student board member did bring it to our attention in December and January. So we talked to the advisors, and they're working with the kids to see what they can plan safely. I do know that Art Park is reserved for graduation, and the venue, which I believe was the Wurlitzer building for our prom, are reserved. Just a matter of will the law allow us to be there when the time comes. So we proceeded this year as normal, and if all restrictions are lifted, we will proceed as normal. The big thing, though, is the social distancing. And school districts, you have to remember, have to follow that. There are some very powerful unions that school districts have to deal with, and they have the ear of the governor as well. So that's kind of what we wait and see how that falls out. Are the schools going to fully open up now? Well, okay, so here's what I was afraid was going to happen. Okay, so we were in a yellow zone, which got more restrictive. But the only thing in yellow zone did that changes from September to when he put us in a yellow zone, I think it might have been, I don't remember now, October. No, it was right around Thanksgiving, November. Was that we had a test, right? So we did the random testing and we asked for volunteers to test. Everything else was already the same. We still are COVID. There is no cure for COVID. We have to be social distancing. We have to wear masks. We cannot fill up school buses. We cannot fill up classrooms with 25, 30 kids. So just because orange, red, and yellow are up, that doesn't change anything for school districts from where we were in September. What it does change is restaurants and barber shops and salons and those types of things that were closed, especially in Erie County, can now open back up with the same precautions, right? If you go there, you have to wear a mask, or before you sit at the table. They can only be at 50% capacity. They can be open later hours now. They don't have to close at 10. So um, people only hear a part of what the governor's saying. So while he lifted zones, he didn't lift everything. Okay, we're back to where we were basically in September with he's saying we can monitor it and see what our infection rate is, but we still have to wear masks and all those things. Here is the link to UPK. So please share this link. If they miss the link or they can't find it on Facebook, if they go to ntschools.org, which it says right here, that is our webpage, and you go to registration and you can find it there. Which I announced it last Wednesday, and we had 50 or 60 people right away jump on that. So to make appointments, so it's working well. The system, reservation system, works well. So please take advantage of that. You cannot probably physically distance with everyone in school. You don't at Walmart or Wegmans. Correct, but you're usually not at Walmart or Wegmans for 6 hours a day. You're moving, you're in and out, and part of the way that they look at it is if you are in close contact for anywhere from 10 minutes without a mask or above 60 minutes with a mask, you're then someone who has to quarantine. So in schools, we're there 6, 7 hours a day. So that's the difference. If you're going to camp out at Walmart for 7 hours or Wegmans, then they probably would have the same restrictions. High-risk sports are only for high schoolers, not middle schoolers, right? Well, there's no modified, but there's JV and varsity. So if someone had qualified as a 7th grader or 8th grader before all COVID hit and they were on a JV team, they could be, yes. Has anything been decided on state testing, and how would that work with my kids being remote? So there is movement on state testing. There is a questionnaire right now. If you go to New York State Education, which is what they do, they put it out there for a period of time for public comment. And they're basically looking at allowing school districts to apply a waiver to not give the testing this year because of this, the symptoms that we're in. So we've been in hybrid model. You got districts like Buffalo that haven't been open until recently. So each school district will have to apply for a waiver not to give state testing. I think in all my conversation with superintendents and that we will all apply for that waiver for one more year, and hopefully be back to normal and get testing back up and running next year. So it's not official. It's in its comment period right now at the state level. It's NYSED if you want to go to that and find state testing comments and put your thoughts in there. It is open to educators and parents to comment on that. We are planning to do homeschool our daughter next year, who will be entering kindergarten. I know you do not report until 1st grade. Do we need to send a letter of intent? She received speech through the district. So you're always better to put a letter of intent in, especially if they're already receiving speech services, to continue those, because there's the Committee on Preschool Education, which is what she would fall under, and you're probably already in that since you're receiving services. And to register for kindergarten gets you in our system, but you're right, you don't have to send them to kindergarten regardless. And then if you decided to homeschool into first grade, you could let us know that. It just helps us know that there's a person out there that might be coming when we do our numbers. Hoping middle school students are included in sports. Well, not right now. Mask. I don't know what's going on about masks, but people are asking about wear a mask, and masks are at the store. You are also not shopping at Walmart for 8 hours. Good. Thank you for applying for the waiver. Okay, that's for the testing, yeah. So that's our plan. The waiver's not out yet, so I want to be clear about that. What the comment period is on at the state for state testing is, are you in favor of giving schools a waiver to eliminate state testing this year? So once they get their feedback, which I think will be positive to do that, then they will send a waiver to the school districts and say, if you want to waive state testing, you can fill out the waiver, which is more than likely what every school district will do. There could be some private, though, or parochial schools that have very small enrollment and they were attending every day who want to take the state test, right? So we'll see where it falls. But I think public schools that have had to do the hybrid model or did not open, like a Buffalo, would take advantage of that. So someone's saying, if I want to put in a request for next year's teacher, where would I go to do that? There was a form last year online that's probably deactivated now so that everybody had the same form. But I will talk to Mr. Halusko downstairs about that to see if we're going to do a form. Your best bet is to start with a letter to the principal, letting them know at the building where your son or daughter will be, and then if the form comes up or there's a standard letter form for that going out from the building, they'll know to send it to you. You still have a little bit of time for that next year, and I will talk to him. So if there is something that's going to be on the webpage, it'll be up in the next week or two. I know they probably won't look at class lists and that till really we get ready for it, but we never know what's going to happen with the budget and if we have to make cuts or not if it fails. So they probably really don't make class lists until the end of May after the budget vote into early June. So you have a lot of time with that, but it doesn't hurt to let the principal know what you're thinking now, and then they can always redirect you to do it officially when the time comes. Private schools are already sending registration info out about next year. At the risk of losing to deposit, is our district preparing to open next year? I know that there are many fine print guidelines, but could you summarize what would have to happen in order for NT District to open, and would there still be all virtual or hybrid choice? Well, okay. So in order for us to open as normal, we need to probably have the vaccine rollout go well this summer, and the governor lift the social distancing piece. We could be in school wearing masks, right? Which is, I think, what goes back to that person's comment about Walmart and Wegmans, right? So we go out all about town and we wear a mask and we're safe. The social distancing comes in when you're going to be someplace, like look at the Bills game, when they let people in. They didn't say everyone can get a test and come in and have thousands, the 45, 50,000 fans there that we usually have, because they wouldn't have been social distancing. So the social distancing is the piece for public schools to open normal. So if we do not have the vaccine out and the virus under control, we would look to open in some kind of format again. Might be different than this year, but it probably wouldn't be 5 days a week if we have to social distance. The choice of will there be hybrid or remote choices available, or virtual ones. I don't see virtual going away completely at some levels. That might have to stay. but hybrid would only be if we're not open again. So there's a lot of things, but the biggest thing that we're all waiting for is the social distancing uh, guideline to be lifted. When will we know what the plan is for fall? We are considering private school, but we are waiting to hear what the plan is for district is. So my plan is to open as normal as soon as possible. If I could do that in May, if I could do that in April, if I could do that next week, I would. What's going to change for us to do that is, like I just said, the social distancing. So I don't think I need to go into that all over again. But as soon as I know what the governor's looking or thinking for September, I'll let you all know. If you definitely want to do 5 days a week, and a parochial or private school can promise you that because they're not going to have class sizes bigger than 12 or 13 and they can socially distance them, that's your guarantee, right? So that's what you want to do. As far as public schools go, be it Buffalo, North Tonawanda, Kenton, Williamsville, Amherst, Newport, we all have to follow the guidelines and work with what the governor's saying. And because we have so many students, we just don't have the space for everybody to come in every day. So that will be it. So if you have to reserve a spot, I'd reserve it. It might even be worth losing a deposit if it's a non-refundable deposit, and then we can open and come back because you want to know that you can go to work and your kids have someplace to go every day. So it might be worth the peace of mind, but I can't give you that guarantee for September until we get more information from the state. So just to recap, pre-K registration kindergarten is up on the webpage. The link is here in the comments. Please send back your demographic forms. If you did not get one from the high school or middle school, please call them and let them know. The middle schools directly, you can call the ad building 2 for the high school forms, and we'll send you one out. And the second semester. So we're working on that. Once we get those numbers solidified and we get all those kids in place, we will look to see also how we can get more kids back in for the second semester at the secondary level. So stay safe, everybody, stay strong, and rest up this week. There's no Bills game to make us nervous. So enjoy that and get ready for the Super Bowl. I will be back next week, which will already be February 3rd. Jeez. All right, so I'll see you at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, February 3rd. Thank you and stay safe.